Right. Hello, everyone. Hi, I think we're all ready to start. So thank you so much for joining our third and final Nominees Round Table. What an afternoon it's been. Welcome, guys. Looking forward to chatting with you. But I just wanted to give a quick round of applause for the nominees, please, and just congrats. So for anyone that's new in the audience, I'm Loren, and I run a magazine called The Blank Mag. We have featured game composers in the past. I'm also a gamer myself, so I'm very excited to chat with these guys today. But to kick things off, I think let's start with, for all of you, what drew you to composing for game? How did you get there? Who'd like to go first? Knut, I'm looking at you. That's the one.
Yeah. Well, I've always been a gamer myself. From I was very young, I started with a Commodore 64, and it grew from there. So my dream, since I became interested in music, was to write film music and game music. So it's always been there. Actually, I've always wanted to do it.
Great.
It's a bit the same for me. It's like when I was young, I play a lot video games. So like I start music at 16 years old, but I play video games from I think 3 years old. I start with Nintendo 64. I play a lot like Mario Kart games, Mario Party games. So like I really love games, and when I start writing music, it was always like with games in mind. So I always write for games. And yeah, it's come like from a big passion of video games when I was young.
Great, thanks so much.
So I actually did not want to be a game composer when I was younger. I started making records. I was a mix engineer and a producer, just making like pop records for the first 10 years of my career, and had an opportunity to get into some composing via doing ads and commercials, and then kind of got just a taste for, A, making money, and and B, just how cool it could be to kind of switch gears and do composition. And then we had an opportunity, my business partner and I, to do some synth programming on Halo Anniversary 1. So that was kind of like the 10-year anniversary. It was around kind of like 2011. And then it was just off to the races. We just started working in games exclusively, and it's been like about 15 years now working in AAA games, and it's kind of, like I never set out on this path, but I can't really imagine any other career.
Yeah, and just like that, 15 years has gone.
Exactly, yeah.
Cool, how about you, John?
For me, I always liked games since I was young. I didn't really get to play them. I wasn't really allowed when I was really young. But I always found a way to kind of sneak in and do it. And I really liked a lot of like strategy games. So that was my big sort of going into the gaming sphere. But I also loved film from a really young age, and I think I loved what music did to storytelling. And I think I saw a lot of that in my gaming experience and in my just general watching experience. So it just felt like an extension of that, kind of just storytelling in a different medium. I kind of just went into it when I got the opportunity.
Great, thanks so much. You've all supplied some clips for us to watch, and I'd love to kick those off. So if we start with Lorien's, please. Great, thank you. Loren, am I right in thinking that you've, in your early days you were sharing music online, and then you kind of went straight into scoring for game? Yeah. So what did that do for you in growing your confidence and your ability as a composer? I'd love to hear about that.
Yeah, I see that as a gift, and like I'm really grateful for that, because it's like a dream to have like a world universe with like all the thing I love in video games. So I have like characters, I have beautiful landscape, I have an incredible stories. So like, yeah, it's really grateful. It's a lot of, I have the chance to write for what I dream. So it's really moving for me to have the chance to do that.
Yeah. And in those early days, you know, how were you approaching it and actually wrangling the feelings? Because obviously these are big projects that you're part of, and the first ones are always the scary ones, right? So I'd love to hear about that.
Honestly, at start it was not a big project.
Yeah.
It was we were like 3, and then we grew up at 6, then 10, then 30. So for me, it was like to work on game was a joy every days. But it was not like oh my god, I'm like on big licenses. We grew together to release Clair Obscur. So I don't have like a lot of pressure on it. It was more it's a dream to work on that.
That's so nice that you've all grown it, made it bigger.
Yeah,
what are those types of conversations like? Especially, it must be really nice actually being so close knit, because you can get things quicker. You know, the exchange. There's less process. What are those conversations like?
Yeah, so we speak like a lot. It's pretty like informal. We chat like a lot on Discord like every day at the start of the project, and it was basically like ideas of about like the story, the characters. I try like some stuff on my computer with the music, and I share it, and they gave me some feedbacks, and we work a lot like that for the early project.
And I'd love you to talk a bit about the clip that you've shown here, and also the process in understanding different sonic elements. Obviously, we're seeing the controls there. There are sound design just as much as your theme behind it. Can you talk through the process about this clip and what you were hoping to achieve compositionally?
Yeah, so this level is called Siren. It's like a big level in the game where we have like Siren with like the big monster and the big creature we see. And the level was created around like air. So the music has to be really focused on air. So it takes a lot of works to have like the music of the voice of the characters on the monster, and then the whole level is built on that. So we have like the a cappella on the monster, and then to follow like the story of the game, we have really soft and subtle instrumentation to go with the voice. And it's like I wanted to show like a clip where it's like not big spoil for the games, but also where we can really feel like a bit where the music leads in the area. So we have like a big Colosseum, and where depends where we are in the level, we hear like the music differently. At start with voice, and where the monster is no longer here, we don't have the voice, and it's adaptive to the music.
And you wrote a lot of music for this project, right? So how did you continuously stay inspired throughout all the tracks that you made?
I have the luck to be since the start of the project, so I have a long time to compose. But yeah, the soundtrack is 10 hours, so it's really a big soundtrack. But honestly, like the world is so full of wonder, and we have like a story so inspiring, and like all the concept art are so beautiful. But I wanted like to create tracks, like I wanted to have like one boss team, one battle team for each part of the games. I wanted to have like three environment level for each landscape. So it's like at start of the project, I have like a blank canvas with all the songs I wanted to create, and day by day I work on it. And at the end, it was like a lot of songs, but it wasn't right from the start. It's more like the world is so big, and I really enjoy creating music, but it's became like that.
I actually wanted to open that up to the rest of you guys, actually, the volume and sheer amount of music and sounds you're making. You know, how do you guys approach that and keep inspired and finding the fresh new avenues musically and sonically? I'd love to hear that.
Well, I was also involved early in the project, so I had a lot of time to develop the music. But usually the game provides you with a lot of information about what's necessary, and there are different parts of the world. There are different landscapes, different environments, different feelings. So you try to tap into all of these things to find out what the game needs. So I've always loved the idea of putting music to different worlds. One of my favorite games a long time ago was Diablo 2, and I loved how you moved from the jungle world to the desert world, and that the music changed and suited the place you were in. So that's the most interesting. One of the most interesting aspects of game music is that you get to score a whole universe or a world, and differentiate between the different parts of the world. So I think there is a lot of information and material to get inspired by in the games. So I never found that to be a problem, but it's always very heavy to write very much music, of course, but I find it very inspiring to work with video games in general, and to create the soundscape or the musical landscape for an entire world or a universe. That's very exciting to me.
How about you guys?
Yeah, just in terms of the kind of like the quantity and how you digest that. I think, unlike films and TV shows where, I have friends who they get a week to write an hour of music. Fortunately, we're often on projects for 2, 3, 4 years. So you really do, you really can get a lot done, so when you think about hours of music and a lot of games, have several composers. My crew finishing move, it's 4. We work exclusively together, but other games will have bring in different composers. So when you see 10, 15 hours of music, sometimes that's a collaboration. But yeah, just having kind of the challenge of having so much time and so much material is, you find that what you wrote in year 1 versus, year 3, you start kind of, oh, wow, I learned a lot of lessons. And then you kind of, oftentimes, I don't know about you guys, you kind of want to go back and touch up some of the early stuff because you learn so much about, just the production and the world and how the game's actually going to work. Because a lot of times you're just working to concept art early on and you don't really have a playable build, or it's really in rough shape. And then you start getting playable builds and the levels start fleshing out and you kind of go, oh wow, like, yeah, we need to make some changes to kind of like how this is working, or like this needs to feel a little bit different now that we can actually play something. So yeah, it's a blessing and a curse to have so much time, because we can write so much music and create these crazy soundtracks, but also it's like, that's a lot of time to kind of sit and stew with your own creativity.
Yeah, completely agree. One thing I would add is that especially for me with Feral North, there was a sort of like small gap between, first working on the project. I also came on quite early on, so then I had to leave the developer to sort of like figure some things out and then come back in. And then, I was working on the music, and the thematic material that I wrote quite early on ended up being the basis for pretty much the whole thing. And I didn't quite realize when I was first writing that the early material, how important of a role it would actually play. So you kind of like trust your old self as your future self to kind of give you good stuff, because you are stuck with it for a while. But then absolutely you go back. I definitely went back and adapted things. But the kind of commitment that you kind of just live with something that you wrote a while ago throughout the project is very different when you do it for years versus like a few months for a series or something like that.
What's your process in arriving at that place? Because you're all super creative your best friend in the kind of process of making a game to keep you and reason with you. I'd love to hear from you on that.
Yeah, we'll go. I think it's pretty instinctive. Like when I try my music in games, I know like in 1 second if it's the good one or if I need to put someone else another song on it. So it's really like I play it and it's like it's good and it's okay and it's what I wanted to share with the player and it's like the emotion and like the colors of the song and the whole landscape with the song is really good. So it's like a click and it's okay and I want it in the game. It's really like that for me.
Okay. So the question is, when do I know it's finished and ready for? Yeah, it's a bit of a difficult question to answer, at least for me, because in my experience, it's like was mentioned here earlier that many times the game is not finished by the time you have to finish parts of the music. So many times I deliver something and it's supposed to be the finished version, but I don't get to try it out in the game. So I have to, in some cases I can test it and see does this work or doesn't it, but other times I don't have the chance of doing that. And then I have to trust communication with the game developers and what they say about it, and leave those decisions to them. And what I can do is to do my best based on the material I have to work on and the descriptions I have, the whatever it is that I base my work on, and then finish the musical part of it in the best way possible. Yeah.
Yeah, for me as well. I think it's a very instinctive reaction, especially when playing the game. I think the moment you start feeling very deep emotions, as opposed to sort of like enjoying your time playing, that's when I know it's sort of like hitting the spot, and especially for something that has a pretty emotional core. I think I couldn't just be satisfied if it was roughly what it should be. If it had to actually make me feel something. And then the test was Kyle, the developer, and Kyle's wife was really useful for that as well, getting her opinion. So I think things like that, kind of just checking through a few people to see if it actually hits the same for all of them, I think that helps you have the confidence to say, okay, that's close to done.
Yeah, the best thing I can say is someone once told me making a game is like flying the plane while building the plane. And so, yeah, sometimes, like Knut was saying, it's like light it on fire and push it out the door. You're with these AAA games, they have deadlines. You maybe have orchestral dates, and you're trying to line all those up, and the deadline's not going to shift, and maybe the game is not ready. Cinematics aren't ready. So sometimes you just go. You're trying to get stuff done and get it out, and kind of see where the dust settles later. Sometimes you get to play it a lot, and you really get to sit with it and experiment with it. Sometimes you really don't know what's going to work best until you get to like the DLC and you're, doing sort of additional content, and you've learned all these lessons, and you can kind of take those lessons after, let's say, fans and a bunch of people have gotten a chance to play the game, and all the bugs get fixed, as I'm sure there's no bugs in video games, guys. But yeah, it just depends on the situation and the schedule, and all I can say after shipping like dozens of AAA games, it's the schedule's always like something always happens. It's always crazy, and you just have to roll with it and get used to that.
Yeah, that's great advice. I'd love to actually play Brian's clip if we can, please. Thank you. All right. Brian, I'd love to talk to you about types of sounds that you love working with, and over the course of the years, how's that evolved for you? And when you're collaborating with composers too, how's that pushed you as a music maker yourself? I'd love to hear about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of kind of the signatures of Finishing Moves sound it has always been heavily weighted in musical sound design. So sounds that maybe sound familiar, but you can't quite place them, so we like to do a lot of field recording, a lot of custom instrument building. In Doom, man, we use so many different kind of folk instruments. We built some stuff. We played cellos wrong, all kinds of crazy things. We had this bass tagelharpa built here in Europe. One guy makes them, they're this big tagelharpa. You hear that throughout. It's just always been kind of, how do we create emotion with sound in non-traditional ways? So maybe that's through synthesis and a lot of computer stuff, but maybe that's just through kind of making your own weird instruments or playing instruments differently. And kind of, it's always been kind of like, we like to kind of be like a self-contained band, if you will. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, we do record live orchestra sometimes, but a lot of times we don't. Like everything is kind of made in-house. And that really allows just a lot of expression and, a big process of that when we're starting a score is we'll spend months just like making materials, just like kind of creating cool materials to work with. Maybe that's sounds, maybe that's patches, maybe that's just kind of ideas that we can then kind of put together quickly. So I was talking about how a lot of times you're just super rushed and you have to get 60 minutes of cinematics out in a month, or something like that. If you do all the pre-work and you make all the cool sounds and you kind of have a period, will take maybe 6 months, sometimes longer, to kind of build a custom toolkit for every game that we work on. And that toolkit can include just anything from instrumentation to plug-in chains to instruments, sample libraries, custom things that we've made. And then all that stuff's kind of ready to be used really quickly. And that kind of allows us to kind of really create that special sauce, but fast when we need to kind of get through a bunch of cues.
I bet your sample set and sound library is a composer's dream from the sounds of it, if you've been making so much over the years. How do you all approach collaborating really together, and do you all work on the same tracks? How does that work for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, it totally varies based on, the project. How many projects are happening at the same time is a big one. But yeah, for this one, we're kind of all working together on all the material. Somebody might have a riff or an idea and develop that, and then, maybe send it off to somebody else to work on. We kind of work in a few different DAWs, and we're always sharing stems back and forth. So it's very collaborative within the four core group. And then everything, I'm kind of the de facto audio director dad of the group. So everything comes to my studio, which is I have an acoustician built room in LA, and has the, I have the best speaker system and everything like that out of everybody, and I'll mix and QC, and I also kind of a lot of the knowledge about implementation and game engines and stuff like that. So if we're implementing the score, I'll do that there. If we're passing it on, I'll prep the assets for, specifically how the studio wants to have them labeled and cut up and stuff like that.
Yeah. What's, out of all of that process, what's your favorite part, would you say?
Favorite part? I think my favorite part, I would say, composing for games is just the people that make games are really, really cool, especially audio people in games are uniquely just a really cool bunch. And, you know, I have, you know, friends, composers in Los Angeles that do TV and film, and you kind of hear these stories about producers and directors and like getting kind of crazy. And I'm just like, man, I feel so lucky because everybody I work with is always so chill and just, it's like you're all in it together, and it can be stressful, and it can, you know, there's times where you're crunching, but it's like you're all on the same team, and it feels really, you know, just like everybody's encouraging everybody. And it's like the people are so cool. They often become just really great friends when you're working on these projects. I'm sure you guys, you know, would say the same. But yeah, just the audio people in games are the best.
I agree. I've met many of them. Could we move on to the next clip, please, for Knut? So, Knut, you recorded this score at Air Studios, beautiful Air Studios. I'd love to hear why you picked that studio and what you were wanting from recording there.
Okay. To me, Studios represents the pinnacle of what I would like to achieve recording-wise. It's a beautiful hall. It sounds amazing. It's this almost mythical place, and it's been impossible to capture the sound of that studio until recently, when Spitfire Audio released the plugin. But before that, it was impossible. So the only way to get that sound that everyone wanted was to record there. And London is also the film music recording capital of the world, for good reason. The musicians there are amazing. It's such high level of professionalism. The musicians and the people, the engineers who work there, they have so much experience, and it's just everything is so easy there. Everything you do, it's just flows. You don't have to worry. I'm used to watching the time and being nervous. Are we going to manage this? I never had to worry. It was the first time in my life that I went somewhere for a recording, and I've done many, that I wasn't nervous. I was relaxed, and I was just enjoying the ride. Mm-hmm. It was wonderful. And they also work very fast. So I managed to, well, my goal was to record 90 minutes, but I planned for more just in case. Mm-hmm. So we managed to record 2.5 hours instead of 1.5 hours. Right. Yeah, and so it's a combination of all these factors, this legendary hall, and also these amazing professionals that you get to work with.
Mm-hmm. To actually prep for a recording, from your point of view, what is that process like? What do you have to do?
So usually I do all of that myself. I orchestrate and I prepare the tracks for recording by bouncing backing tracks and so forth. And but I have someone creating the actual Pro Tools projects. Mm-hmm. This time I didn't have time for any of that. I had to give away the orchestration, and I had a very good orchestrator, Alistair King, who was also the conductor. Which is a great help because he knew the music very well when he was conducting. So he did a wonderful job orchestrating, and I trusted him completely. He understood. I could just see from the first thing he sent me that, okay, he gets it. He understood exactly what I meant here. So that was a relief. And I had to leave all the other prepping to also someone else, the bouncing of tracks and preparations of the recording session, and also preparation of the mix session, because there was, in addition to the actual recordings, which also involved lots of soloists in different studios all around Europe. there was a lot of synthesizers that I recorded at home, and I had to send all of those to both the recording session and the mix session. So all of that someone else had to do. Yeah.
Obviously, you said you do everything, but giving that part away to other people, how did that feel?
Yeah,
was there a slight nerve?
So the prepping is easy because it's just work. There's no creativity involved. But usually when I write, I make my mock-ups up to a certain quality, and then I think the rest I will fix in orchestration. But if I end up not doing the orchestration myself, suddenly I left many choices to be made there. It's not finished. I know exactly what I would like to do with it, but that is not immediately obvious if someone else orchestrates for me. So there I had to go in and we had to talk a lot, and I had to explain very thoroughly what I wanted, because a lot of things can go wrong in orchestration. I see it as a natural part of the composition process. So if I cannot finish that part myself, I need to make it very clear what I want to be done at that step, in that step, yeah.
Do you have any advice for upcoming composers who are looking to expand and work with more people with orchestras, how they might learn and approach even little tips?
You mean orchestration?
Yes, but also composition as well, and how
Yeah.
you can communicate what you're after as a composer to an orchestrator.
Well, I think most composers are very much aware of what they want, but to be able to communicate that with someone who speaks a musical language or traditional musical language, if you're not proficient in it yourself, it can be a challenge. So I would recommend everyone to learn basic skills, in all the parts of the production. So basic mixing skills, basic orchestration skills, basic counterpoint for that matter, basic sound design, and all of these things, because many times, especially when you're starting out, you have to do them yourself anyway. So at the point where you give this away, or you have to give some of it away, you probably know enough to inform those people. But if you don't, I just recommend learning a bit of the skills that you don't have, so you can at least communicate them well, your things that you want them to do. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Could we cue the last clip, because I'm conscious of time? Thank you. Thanks, John. That's a really beautiful clip that you shared. And I wanted to ask you, with that one in particular, the compositional approach and process and what you wanted to achieve from that musically.
Yeah, so obviously these are two different clips from the game. The first is the first encounter with Kaylee's mum's song, which is a song that inspired the game itself, for Well North, coming from one of the stanzas in the poem by Robert Burns. And Kyle had insisted at some point that we should try and kind of feature our own arrangement of it at some point in the game. And it ended up being sort of like the through line on which the whole emotional backbone was built. Kind of that idea of saying goodbye to the North and everything else, spoilers not included, that comes with that. And so it was very much our approach to kind of have it be reminiscent of the sea, because that's where the environment in which Kaylee sort of remembers it throughout the game, and be very calming, because that was the connotation, you know, when it was sung to her as a child. And then the very contrasting second part, where Chesley, the dog, as which is who you play as throughout the game, is kind of in his element suddenly back into chasing sheep around and herding, and kind of featuring a lot of traditional Scottish instrumentation and kind of motifs there, to try and kind of bring that elevated energy and just silly dog happiness to the whole experience. Yeah.
What have games taught you about storytelling through music that perhaps is different to other media?
I think a big thing is the thing that's really unique with games is just the player initiative. Basically, you get to tell a story while immersing the player in it and making them make key choices a lot of the times that then reveal consequences or other beats in the narrative. And a lot of what the music had to do here was play as if you are watching a film, but also reinforce those decision-making moments, and giving you the feel that what you did actually resulted in some deep effect in the characters' lives. And so there's a lot of tricks that we had to come up with to kind of make sure that everything syncs really well. You can't, without you being able to tell that it's sort of like waiting for you, so that it seems seamless. And so that when you make that decision, then it feels like the music is following that, and you're basically causing it and playing along with the music, as opposed to, some mismatch of it feeling predetermined and you just happen to be pressing a button kind of thing.
I've actually got a question for all of you, and I'd like to open it up. Where do you see the game industry going for composers in the next few years? Obviously, the world is changing rapidly. We all know that. But I'd also like to hear from you all about anything that you'd like to see change for composers. Who would like to tackle that one first? It's a large one, which I've saved for the end.
I guess I'll start. As far as like where do we see game music going? I mean, it's kind of like it's a scary time, and I think I think it's our responsibility as human creators to fight as hard as we can against this kind of like AI, whether it ends up working out or not, we'll see, it seems a little bubbly right now, but it's definitely that those trends are pushing forward. And I think, I think people really want human stories. I think that's what they're interested in. I don't know if just recently I've been watching all these, Sora videos, and there's just something that's kind of like just gross about them. You're just kind of, oh man, like I don't, or AI music. It's just kind of like, So hopefully, I think we can kind of fight for our human creations, and thankfully, all the studios that I'm currently working with, they're kind of have big no AI policies. I think a lot of that's due to I don't think the book is closed on whether this is even legal or not. The way that they're kind of just basically training and kind of like copy pasting our music. So I think there's a lot of the studios are kind of like, hey, we're gonna have to hit. We can't have anything shipping. That's been the rules. Like no AI assets ship, whether it's art, music, that kind of thing. And so that's good for now. And I mean, as far as like composers, I mean, I think just advocating for ourselves. I think that's the biggest thing. Advocating for how much value music brings for how little money it costs relative to the rest of the things that go into movies, films, games, and that kind of thing. And just this idea of like an actual person thinking about the story, watching a scene, feeling an emotion, and kind of trying to convey those proper instincts, towards feelings and emotions. Just the value of that is, it just pays so many dividends in the end project. And just, I think we just need to advocate that and keep trying to push that as is so valuable.
Thanks, Brian.
I would just like to add something. I agree with everything you say, obviously, but I think in many cases it's difficult to convince a studio, a developer, to spend less or to spend more money on something they can get a lot cheaper, and they don't really know the difference. So I think the argument we have to use is that AI is not creative. It's just copying. There is no creation with AI. And if we let AI take over, there will be no development in music, because the AI will just keep copying what someone has already done. So there is no evolution in music. It will stop. It will die. And that is something that they might understand. And we need to advocate creativity and creation, and letting the music continue to evolve and go to new places where we haven't been before. We're seeing it all the time. Suddenly there is a composer, he does something completely different. Where did that come from? Certainly an AI did not create that. So there is all the time innovation. That is what we have to speak up for and use as an argument. I think we need to support innovation and give the opportunity to let music evolve, and the composers to be creative and innovative. And otherwise, well, that way we will get more exciting games, more exciting films, and music will continue to excite us all, and keep bringing more people into music, make more people want to work with music. I mean, if there is complete stagnation, it will die, and no one will be interested in it. So, I think that is an important argument.
Yeah. Do you guys have any final notes on that topic?
I mean, just to add on the AI discussion, I guess, that I think there is more to being a collaborator than just delivering music files. Like, for example, with Feral North, we had so many discussions about the story itself, like game mechanics, things like that, and the game changed because of those discussions. If I had just been there reacting to prompts of we want this music and we want that music, that wouldn't have happened. And so I think basically understanding that the role of a collaborator comes with a lot more value than just a file delivery system is also important.
Yeah.
But I definitely agree with
John.
both of you.
Yeah. How about you, Lorien?
I'm pretty optimistic about music and video games. It's like my first game. Clair Obscur is my first game, but what I feel and what I learned from this game is that the players feel everything. So I have like no doubt that player like feel art, feel soul, feel emotion. So I'm really optimistic about music. For me, like there will always be music and there will always be love in games and music. So
Yeah.
I'm really optimistic.
No, that's great. Thank you so much. Guys, I could talk to you for a long time, and there's so many questions I didn't ask you. However, we have run out of time, so I just want to say thank you so much. And thank you for all of you too for joining us here today, and it was great to have you, so thank you.